Hey everyone, another day, another video, another video where I tell you where I went wrong. Like I said, I've got to share everything with you and trying to leave nothing unturned and trying not to portray myself as someone who's never made any mistakes, because the very opposite is true. So I want to move forward a little bit in the story. Just after if you watched yesterday's video, this is direct follow-on from that. And so after I'd, if you like, honed my perception skills, I was driving my car one night on my own, and I felt that sense of presence. And I looked up in the rearview mirror, and one of these entities was sitting in the back seat. So he started talking to me telepathically, and was showing interest in driving. And I was, at the time, like I said, I completely thought these guys are like my family. Do you know what I mean? I was completely on board with them. And he was telling me that I was a really good driver and stuff, and that he'd love to have a go. And I was like, yeah, that's fine. I said, I'll pull over. I said, you can have a go. He said, no, I can't do that. He said, I wouldn't be able to just get in a car and drive. And anyway, they were still, when they came through to me mostly, they weren't completely solid. Like, they were like looking at a ghost, but you could see them, but you could just tell they weren't the frequency. They were still slightly removed, So anyway, he said, do you mind if I come into you and just experience the drive while you're driving? This was nearly a fatal error for me in the future. But at the time, like I said, I was very naive to what was actually going on. And I allowed it. And the reason why I'm telling you this is because there's a massive danger in inviting these guys into your life. Now, like I said to you, most people are having contact anyway. But when you start actively giving these guys consent to come into your life, it's a little bit like the old vampire story, which again is very suggestive of the fact that these are not highly technological space aliens. They're something else, and they conform to rules very much like the old vampire rules and stuff. That they can only take the power that you give them, and they can only invade your space to the point that you allow it. That's very important. It will be very important in the future as well. But I completely allowed this guy to come into me. It was a very strange experience. It's a little bit like being in the cockpit of a plane, and you're still there, but someone else has come in and taken the controls. You can kind of see what's going on, and you are aware of what is happening, but you've given control over to something else, and you can feel it in the cockpit with you, if you like. And that's what happened. And on that night, there was nothing bad happened. He came in, and I could feel his emotions, and he was making out like he was excited to be behind the wheel of a car, but using my driving skills and knowledge, to drive the car. It was still me kind of in control of the actual vehicle, even though he was a little bit like having a child sitting on your lap, like he pretending to drive the car, but what I didn't realize was that was kind of me in with them hook, line and sinker, and I had basically given them permission to use me as a conduit, as a vessel, and they wanted to move onto the the next phase of this program, you know, where I was going to start integrating myself into a social group, and they were going to do this coming into me over and over again, and they were going to use it in order to entice these other people into the program. I don't have any opinions about like people like Dr. Stephen Greer. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of him, but I do find it very dangerous, you know, that he's like conducting these C5. It all sounds very lovely, you know, these people going out to places and inviting these beings in. And of course, like, you keep hearing testimonies where people will say, yeah, you know, I did the C5 meditations, and lo and behold, there was a light in the sky, you know, and I had a communication with it and all this kind of stuff. And then afterwards, there was paranormal activity happening in my life. You know, I've got the Space Brothers have come here, you know, it's brilliant. But if you take a deep breath, you know, and like, and step back and look at that situation, you know, why would like highly evolved technological beings like need all this, you know, like this, like, oh, meditate on us, invite us in, you know, like, let us come into your life, you know, we will respond. And the fact that they do respond to that kind of stuff, people have been invoking spirits and demons, entities throughout the ages, and like, this isn't any different, you know. It's just taken on like a new form, you know, like, we live in a space age now, you know, the supposed space age, and they are coming to us now as the Space Brothers, or the Zeta Reticulans, or, you know, whatever else they want to call themselves. But this control system's been here since day one. I mean, the system itself, you know, the world itself is inseparable from this control system, and these guys are the minions of that, and they take all kinds of guises, and, you know, they mess with people in all sorts of different ways, you know. And my personal story is just one way in which it was done. So this video is just a little warning, you know. I understand people being fascinated by the UFO subject. I understand, like, the allure, you know, to the idea that there might be like a galactic community of higher evolved beings that could help humanity out because of the, you know, mess that we're in, and all the rest of it, you know. But that need and that want for these guys to be these people, it just opens the way for them to sort of gaslight us into our lives. And like I've said before in other videos, you know, I do believe that, like, they are preparing for a mass deception. And like I said, you can see the ground being laid for that now. So I don't know if this is going to be detrimental to me or not, but I can't just come on here and just tell you stories about alien contact and all that kind of stuff, you know. Like, I've got to tell you, you know, you can call it my truth if you want, you know, you may not agree with me, you know, but this is my truth, and I have experience with these people, and I do care about you all, and I care about you all no matter what it costs me, and I'm gonna tell you what I feel like I should tell you, you know. And it's going to be, like I said, full disclosure, warts and all, you know. And I'm going to go on in the future now to explain how they messed with a group of people around me. I'm not going to name names and all that kind of stuff, you know. There's no blame or judgment for those other people. It was what it was, and it's, if anyone really needs to hold the blame, you know, like, you know, I would say it was me. I was pivotal in it all happening. So, but anyway, this is the stage of the story that we're at. Like I say, I could see them, I could hear them, I could sense them, and now I'd let them completely into my being. And I'd opened the doorway and invited them in. And anyone who's ever watched a decent vampire film knows that don't do it. Just don't do it, okay? If you're thinking about it or if you're having these contacts, please just be cautious, okay? Because once they've got you, the story I need to tell you about how I got out of it is long and hard and painful, and I wouldn't wish it on you, okay? So take care, and we're going to carry on with the story tomorrow, okay? I hope you're well.